All right, on number 16, the steps to do this on your calculator. Step number 1, you're going to hit Stat, then Edit, and you're going to type these numbers into List 1. Once you have those numbers typed in, you have to go back and hit Stat, go over to Calc, and you are going to choose option 1 that says, I believe, 1 vars stats. And once you choose that, you should have all the information pop up, but you need to remember that you are looking for standard deviation, so you are looking for the SX equals. And I believe in this case, the answer was 5.47. On number 17, we are simply looking at the results of this survey, and it looks like 7 kids liked orange, 11 kids liked blue, 8 green, and 4 yellow, and of course, blue wins. So the principal needs to recommend blue for his hallways. On number 18, to determine if the vertex is a maximum or minimum, and to find the vertex, all you would have to do is graph it on your graphing calculator, and I have an example of what it should look like. Because the vertex is at the bottom, it is a minimum. If you wanted to find that vertex on your calculator, once you have it graphed, you go and you hit second trace to get to the calculator version. And after you hit second trace, then you are going to find, because this is a minimum, you're going to click the option that says minimum. And then it's going to say left bound. So you're going to go to the left of the vertex somewhere, probably right here, and click enter. And then it's going to say right bound. So you go right of the vertex, maybe right here, and hit enter. And then you have to hit enter one more time to get the vertex, and it's going to pop up that the vertex is negative 0.25. 5.75. Number 19, we are trying to find the maximum height. Now again, this is the vertex. In this case, the vertex is a maximum. So I'm going to graph this on my graphing calculator. And once I have this graph I'm looking at, I'm going to hit second trace to get to the calc. Then once I have calc, now because my vertex is a maximum, I'm going to choose the maximum option. Then it's going to pop up left bound. So I have to go left of my maximum, somewhere right here, hit enter. Then it's going to say right bound. I'm going to go to the right of it, hit enter. And then finally it's going to say guess, and you hit enter on guess. And it's going to come up as an answer of 2 numbers, number, comma, something. The first number is always your time, and the second number is your feet. Since they're asking for the maximum height, we're looking for the second number, which in this case was 39.063 feet. All right, on number 19, they are asking for how long is the ball in the air? Well, if the ball starts right here, it goes up in the air and lands right here. So the second x-intercept is what we're looking for. We are looking for this point right here, and that will tell us how long the ball was in the air. Well, once you graph this on your graphing calculator and you're looking at the graph, now we just have to find it. Now, since this is an x-intercept, that is called a 0. So what we're going to do is step number 1, hit second trace to get to your calculator functions. You're going to choose option, I believe it's number 2, called zeros. Then it's going to pop up left bound. Now again, I need to be left of the point I want, so I'm going to probably go about right here. Hit enter, then it's going to pop up right bound. So I'm going to go somewhere to the right of the point, like down there. And it's going to pop up guess, so I hit enter. And don't forget, it's going to pop up 2 numbers. Time is your first number, and feet is your second number. And feet should be the number 0, because we are wanting it to be 0. That's where it hits the ground. So the first number, time, should be 3.125 seconds in this problem. Number 21, what is the range of the problem? Now remember, domain is left and right, so domain uses these numbers. Range uses your y-axis, these numbers. So using those numbers, I'm going to try to describe this line. it looks like its maximum height is at 6, and this line is always below 6. So I need to show that it is below, but it equals 6. Number 22, what are the zeros? And again, zeros are code for x-intercepts. So this one has two x-intercepts. It looks like negative 0.5 and 4.5. All right, now number 23, what is the interval of decrease? Now remember, the left side we call negative infinity, the right side positive infinity. And since the vertex would be at 2, those are the only three numbers I can use. Now we're looking for decrease, and it looks like it's decreasing from 2 going all the way down to positive infinity. And since I read it left to right, I have to write it left to right. So it starts at 2 and it goes all the way to positive infinity. That is where the line is decreasing. Number 24, we have to give a name of this polynomial. Now, first off, I see 1 separated by a plus symbol, 2 separated by a minus symbol, 3 terms here. And 3 terms is a trinomial. Number 25, we have to give the degree. This first term is to the 4th degree because the exponent is 4. The second term has an invisible 1, a 3, and a 1, and that gives me a total of 5, so that is to the 5th term. And this last one has an invisible 1 and a 6, which means to the 7th. Now, which one's larger, 4, 5, or 7? So we'd say this trinomial is to the 7th degree. Number 26, we are adding two binomials. Now, this is like terms. All we're doing is combining like terms. So I'm going to start right here with 6x plus 2x, and that gives me 8x. Then I'm going to do positive 1 plus negative 10, and that gives me negative 9. Number 27, now we are subtracting binomials, and I always like to distribute my negative symbol before I do anything. So I'm going to bring down my 4x squared minus 8. Negative times 2x squared is negative 2x squared, and negative times negative 10 is positive 10. And now it's just combining like terms. 4x squared minus 2x squared is 2x squared, and negative 8 and a positive 10 combine to give me a positive 2. Number 28, now we are multiplying two binomials. Now this is called FOIL, or the distributive property twice. So I'm going to start with my 3x. 3x times 5x is 15x squared. 3x times 6 is 18x. Now I have to distribute the negative 4. Negative 4 times 5x is negative 20x, and negative 4 times positive 6 is negative 24. Now, we always have to clean this up and combine any like terms. So I'm going to bring my 15x squared down because there's no other x squareds. But there is a positive 18x and a negative 20x that combines to give me negative 2x. And bring down my minus 24 because nothing combines with it either. Number 29, we are going to factor out the most that we can. So the largest number that goes into 10 and 35 is 5. And this one has 4 x's, this one has 3, so the most I can take is 3. Now I have to figure out 5x to the third times what gives me 10x to the fourth. Well, 5 times 2 gives me 10. And if I have 3 x's here, how many more do I need to get to that total of 4? I need one more x. Now 5x to the third times what gives me 35x to the third. And 5 times 7 gives me 35. And if I have 3 x's here, I don't need any more to get a total of 3. So my answer is 5x to the third with a 2x plus 7 inside the parentheses. Number 30, we're going to factor this trinomial into two binomials. So in this case, we are looking for two numbers that multiply to give us 16, but when you combine them, you get 10. And that would be a positive 2 and a positive 8. Number 31, we are going to factor this into two binomials also. We need two numbers that multiply and give us negative 5, but when you combine them, you get a positive 4. Now that would be a positive 5 times a negative 1. They multiply to give me negative 5, and when you add them, you get positive 4. All right, on number 32, the AC method. First off, let's verify that it is the AC method, and since the A value is 2, I'm going to look, can I factor out a 2? Since I can't, I know that it is an AC method, so I'm going to do the first step, which is take out the middle term and put in 2 blank spots. Now, it's called the AC method because I'm going to multiply my A value times my C value, which is 2 times 21, and I get 42. Now, as I'm listing my factors, I need numbers that multiply to give me 42, but when I combine them, I get negative 13. So I do 1 times 42. Now, that gives me 42, but that does not combine to give me negative 13. So then I try negative 1 and negative 42, and that still doesn't work. Then I go to negative 2 and negative 21. That gives me positive 42, but that doesn't give me negative 13 when I combine them. Then I go to negative 3. Doesn't work with anything. Negative 4 doesn't work with anything. Negative 5 doesn't work with anything. But negative 6 and negative 7, that does give me positive 42, and that does give me negative 13x. So I'm going to have to plug in a negative 6x and a negative 7x. Now I'm going to put the negative 7x next to the 21, and I'm going to put the negative 6x next to the 2x squared. All right, on the blue side, I can factor out a 2x, and that would leave me with x minus 3. On the purple side, if I factor out a positive 7, I have to put negative x plus 3. And you're supposed to get the exact same parentheses, so I can't factor out a positive 7, so I know I messed up. So I'm going to go back and try to factor out a negative 7. And negative 7 times x gives me negative 7x, and negative 7 times negative 3 gives me the positive 21. So now I got the same parentheses on both sides, so I know I'm going to get this one right. My x minus 3 is on both sides, so I'm going to take that out. And my other binomial, 2x minus 7, is my other answer. Number 33, solving using the quadratic formula. Now again, I always like to list my A, B, and my C value. And then I'm going to plug them in. Negative B, I'm going to put negative negative 6, but instead of putting negative negative 6, positive 6. Plus or minus B squared, which is negative 6 squared, minus 4 times A times C, all divided by 2 times A. From here, I'm going to simplify it. 6 plus or minus the square root over, and 2 times 4 is 8. So now I just need to find the discriminant. And the discriminant ends up being 260. All right, now from here, when I type in the square root of 260, I get a very long decimal, and we're not allowed to round off. So now I'm going to see if square root of 260 would break down. So I need two numbers that multiply to give me 260, and I think they are 4 times 65. And the square root of 4 is 2, square root of 65. So I'm going to plug that in over here. So I get 6 plus or minus 2, square root of 65 over 8. Now the top part, the most I can take out of 6 and a 2 square root of 65 is a 2. And when I take out a 2, I'm left with a 3 plus or minus 1 square root of 65, but I don't need the 1. And from here, I see the fraction of 2 over 8, and 2 over 8 reduces to 1/4. So 1 over 4, 3 plus or minus square root of 65. And we do not need the 1 in front, so I would simply just rewrite that as 3 plus or minus the square root of 65 over 4.